Welcome to the debate. Today we're tackling a really profound question, shaping the future of education, the role of artificial intelligence. Drawing insights from recent discussions, particularly with Sal Khan, the CEO of Khan Academy, we're exploring AI's potential as both a revolutionary tool and potentially a significant disruptor.
Exactly. And the central question before us today is this: does AI fundamentally enhance and maybe democratize learning, or does its widespread integration inherently threaten the core values and, the human elements that really define education?
Right, and I'll be arguing that AI offers an unprecedented opportunity to elevate and broaden educational access, essentially making learning better and more available.
And I'll be raising what I think are crucial concerns about its inherent risks and potential pitfalls for the learner and for the education system itself.
Okay, so from my perspective, when we look at initiatives like Khan Academy's Khanmigo, it becomes pretty clear that artificial intelligence, when it's applied thoughtfully, presents just an unparalleled opportunity to truly scale world-class education for anyone, anywhere. And this isn't just about making existing resources, a little bit more efficient. It's really about introducing hyper-personalization and mastery learning on a scale that was frankly previously unimaginable. You can think of AI as the best available tool in situations where a human tutor simply isn't accessible, which unfortunately describes the reality for just vast numbers of students globally. Khan Academy's early work with GPT-4, even before ChatGPT was public, it quickly shifted their initial fears, things like cheating or errors, into a really proactive strategy. They developed these robust features like Socratic tutoring, which guides students with questions instead of just giving answers. And content anchoring, that ensures responses are based on verified educational material. Plus advanced math, double-checking, where essentially one AI validates the work of another. So what we see here is AI simultaneously raising the ceiling for experienced teachers, giving them sophisticated tools for individualizing lessons, and acting as invaluable teaching assistants, and also raising the floor for students. It offers genuine access to quality education for those without traditional schooling. I mean, a stark example is the student from Afghanistan who used schoolhouse certifications for admission to MIT.
Yeah, that's a powerful example.
It is. And even platforms like Dialogues show how AI can support systems that foster constructive human interaction on complex topics, helping bridge what Sal Khan calls those geographic, socioeconomic, and social media bubbles. This integration, to my mind, is a lot like the textbook. Once feared by teachers, maybe, as a replacement, it's now just an indispensable resource that fundamentally enhances their role.
Okay, I understand the powerful vision you're painting there, and particularly the focus on access and personalization. Those are undeniably compelling points. However, I guess I come at this from a slightly different angle, emphasizing a more cautious approach to AI's rapid and, frankly, widespread deployment, especially within the sensitive domain of education. Because despite the, innovative efforts to mitigate risks, some fundamental concerns remain. Issues around academic integrity, student privacy, and the inherent potential for what we call hallucinations, where AI just generates plausible but factually incorrect information or even subtle math errors. These highlight a kind of foundational unreliability that I think needs serious scrutiny, particularly when AI acts as a singular educational agent. And beyond the technical side, we absolutely have to consider the irreplaceable role of genuine human connection and motivation in the learning process.
Large language models, no matter how sophisticated they get, they just can't fully replicate this. An AI tutor might be proactive, it might be helpful, sure, but it still operates algorithmically. It inherently lacks genuine human empathy. That nuanced understanding of a student's emotional state, or, that motivational coach-in-the-room element that can inspire so deeply. Moreover, the very nature of these AI-supported systems introduces new vulnerabilities that go beyond just technical glitches. We saw this, didn't we, with the critique leveled against Schoolhouse Dialogues, the affirmative action for boring kids comment. Now, that wasn't just a flippant remark. It suggested a real concern that such systems could be gamed, potentially incentivizing superficial engagement or rote participation over genuine intellectual curiosity, thereby undermining the authenticity we value in assessment and, importantly, college admissions. We also just can't ignore the strange incentives within the education sector itself, where the beneficiary, the decision maker, and the payer are often different people or entities.
This economic reality, I think, amplifies the risk that AI adoption could be driven primarily by cost-cutting rather than genuine pedagogical benefit, potentially sidelining human teachers for what might seem like simpler and cheaper AI solutions. And finally, the very idea of AI-generated content replacing human creators or students forming the same profound bonds with a quote, digital Sal Khan, it fundamentally questions the essence of human connection and learning.
Okay, your concerns about AI potentially displacing human educators or undermining that human connection, they are certainly valid points, and they demand careful consideration. Absolutely. However, I believe that framing AI solely as a potential replacement kind of misses its transformative power as an enhancer. Consider, for instance, how it could actually elevate the human element in teaching. I see AI primarily as a sophisticated teaching assistant that profoundly augments a teacher's capabilities. Imagine a teacher, right, with a classroom of, say, 25, maybe 35 students. AI can manage the personalized learning paths. It can provide instant feedback on practice problems, maybe even help grade essays for, grammatical correctness. This frees the human teacher from the most repetitive, time-consuming tasks. It allows them to concentrate on those deeper human connections, on crafting more engaging, interactive lessons, on addressing the individual emotional and developmental needs of students that really only a human can truly perceive.
Right. The analogy to textbooks, which, initially caused some fear among educators but ultimately became indispensable tools, it suggests a similar trajectory for AI. It becomes an invaluable resource that strengthens rather than diminishes the human teacher's role. It's about leveraging technology to empower teachers to be more human, more impactful, not less. Well, while that vision of an empowered, human-centric classroom is indeed appealing, I'm still struggling with the idea that AI will only augment. How do we genuinely prevent a scenario where, despite all the best intentions, the relentless pursuit of cost efficiency inevitably pushes AI beyond just an assistant role? This is where those strange incentives in education become really critical. The bulk of educational costs, as you know, often aren't tied directly to teachers' salaries. They're in administration, infrastructure, other operational expenses. But when budgets get tight, the pressure to reduce personnel costs, typically the largest single line item, becomes immense. We've seen this happen in various sectors where technological efficiency quickly becomes a euphemism for staff reduction.
Yeah.
So while AI might be the best available tool for personalization, in an underfunded district grappling with teacher shortages, it could very quickly morph into the only affordable solution. This isn't just a theoretical concern. It's a very real economic possibility that could force institutions to prioritize AI-driven solutions over, expensive human educators, despite the acknowledged irreplaceable role of genuine human motivation and connection in comprehensive learning. The aspiration of augmentation, I fear, risks becoming a harsh reality of substitution under economic pressure, especially in a system often driven by administrative rather than purely pedagogical priorities.
I do understand the economic pressures you're highlighting. It's definitely a complex system. But let's shift our focus maybe to an equally paramount issue: academic integrity in this new AI era. Khan Academy, for example, has proactively built in some pretty robust safeguards. Khanmigo, for instance, employs a Socratic method. It doesn't just hand over answers. Instead, it guides students with probing questions to help them discover the solutions independently, fostering genuine understanding rather than facilitating cheating. Its responses are also, as I mentioned, content anchored to verified Khan Academy resources, which prevents factual errors and ensures students are learning from reliable material. For complex problems, especially in maths, it even uses advanced double-checking mechanisms, basically having one AI verify the calculations of another to ensure accuracy.
Okay,
And beyond that, consider the schoolhouse certifications. These aren't just automated tests. They require students to record explanations of their work, which are then subject to peer review. This creates, I think, a robust model for genuinely demonstrating mastery. The success of that Afghanistan student using these certifications for MIT admission isn't just a feel-good story. It's actual evidence that these systems can provide a credible, verifiable pathway to demonstrating real skill, even in contexts where traditional schooling is absent. These are not passive systems. They are designed for active, verifiable learning and integrity.
Okay, while your examples of guardrails are certainly compelling, and I do commend the innovative spirit behind them, they seem to primarily address technical integrity, preventing direct cheating or factual errors. But what about the broader, maybe more nuanced question of authenticity in learning and assessment? Despite these measures, the inherent potential for gaming AI-supported systems or for these systems to inadvertently promote, inauthentic displays of skill, that remains a significant concern for me. The critical public response to schoolhouse dialogues, labeling it affirmative action for boring kids, indicates, I think, a deep skepticism that these systems truly measure or foster authentic human engagement and critical thought.
That critique.
The critique implied that students might just learn to perform for the AI, right? Engaging in superficial participation or following a script to achieve a certain outcome, rather than truly wrestling with complex ideas. This becomes particularly problematic when these certifications feed into high-stakes environments, like college admissions. If the system can be gamed to present just a veneer of intellectual curiosity, it risks devaluing genuine achievement and creating an inequitable advantage for those who are simply adept at navigating the AI's preferences. The very sophistication of AI might actually make it more, not less, susceptible to clever manipulation by those seeking shortcuts, potentially eroding trust in these alternative certifications over time, regardless of their technical robustness. I think that critique, while memorable, fundamentally misunderstands the intent and, frankly, the rigorous design of these systems. It assumes a static, easily exploitable AI rather than one that's constantly learning and adapting. But let's move to the very core of what learning is, particularly the role of motivation and human connection. You've argued that AI can't replicate human empathy, and I agree with that, to a point. But what AI can do, and with incredible effectiveness, is offer personalized feedback, proactive goal setting, and even incorporate game mechanics. Elements like points, badges, progress trackers that are proven to be highly motivating for many students. It acts as a consistent accountability holder, especially for learners who lack access to human tutors. Sal Khan himself acknowledged how an AI can move from just being a passive resource to an active motivator.
For students, in situations where a human coach in the room is simply not available, and think about millions globally, this algorithmic personalization addresses a critical gap in educational equity. It provides a structured, responsive support system that can dramatically drive student progress and confidence. It's not about replacing human connection entirely. It's about providing any connection, any structured support where none existed before. Isn't even an imperfect algorithmic connection a radical improvement over nothing at all for these learners?
I wholeheartedly agree that for students with absolutely no access, any support is certainly better than nothing, no question. However, I come at it from a different way when we talk about transformative learning. True motivation and deep transformative learning, I believe, often stem from a unique human-to-human obligation, and that irreplaceable emotional and intellectual connection with a teacher or a mentor. It's questionable whether AI, however sophisticated its game mechanics or feedback loops might become, can ever fully replicate the nuanced empathy, the spark of inspiration, or the intrinsic drive that genuine human interaction fosters. Sal Khan himself noted how much of his early tutoring was about motivation and accountability, rooted in a personal relationship, that human connection that made a student want to show up and perform, not just for a system, but for another person. A reliance on algorithmic guidance, however personalized or gamified it is, risks a potential loss in let's say, the holistic quality of the learning experience. We might be prioritizing efficiency and measurable outcomes over the profound human elements essential for comprehensive development. Critical thinking that goes beyond mere problem solving, emotional intelligence,
the intrinsic joy of discovery shared with another mind. We risk creating a generation of highly efficient, but potentially less intrinsically motivated, less emotionally connected, or perhaps even less imaginatively robust learners, simply because that deeply human spark is absent. Can an algorithm truly inspire a student to pursue a lifelong passion, or does it just optimize them for the next assessment? That's my concern.
Well, my argument remains that AI, when it's implemented with a mission-driven and thoughtful approach, as we see exemplified by Khan Academy's initiatives, it represents an incredibly powerful opportunity to broaden access to high-quality, personalized education globally. It's not about supplanting the human, it's about making the human element more effective and reaching students who would otherwise be entirely underserved. It enhances rather than diminishes the potential for true learning.
And while I certainly acknowledge AI's undeniable benefits, particularly in terms of access and personalization, I must firmly underscore the critical need for continued vigilance. This vigilance has to extend to its ethical implications, the preservation of academic integrity in what is a rapidly evolving landscape, and maybe most importantly, the safeguarding of the essential human elements of teaching and learning. The complex interplay of technology, human psychology, and, yes, economic incentives demands a cautious, ongoing reassessment as these tools become more and more prevalent.
Indeed. The conversation around AI and education it's far from settled, and the future of its role continues to be shaped by ongoing innovation, careful implementation, and hopefully thoughtful consideration of its profound societal impact.
Absolutely, and there remains much more to explore in this rapidly evolving landscape. We hope our discussion today has perhaps illuminated some different facets of this crucial debate.